Hey, it's Ashley at Smart Addition Academy, and in today's video, we are going to go through practice test number 1 for the College Board PSAT exam. So if you are preparing for the PSAT, this is a really great test for you to take to see what you can expect. So before we get started, check out the links in the description of this video where you can find this practice test and you can take it along with me. Okay, I'm going to do all the questions and you can follow along while I solve them. Also, in the description of this video, you can find our Smart Addition Academy practice test for the PSAT and our full online course for the PSATs. Okay, so we are going to do the math section together today. There are two parts, actually. There is a no calculator part, and then there's a part where we can use a calculator. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so for our no calculator section of the PSATs, we have 20 minutes. Okay, we have 20 minutes to do 13 questions. So we are going to try to work through these 13 questions in those 20 minutes that we are allotted. There are some directions that you can read through. Again, we're not going to use a calculator for this part, but what we do have, which will be super helpful, is our reference section. So this is a reference sheet that you will be given on your PSAT with lots of formulas that can help you. And don't forget to notice down here a few other things: degrees in a circle, radians, and the sum of the measure of the degrees in the angles of a triangle. Okay, so all of these things will be helpful. They may come up, so we'll be able to use this reference sheet. Okay, so let's start our 20 minutes and look at question number 1. In the equation above, what is the value of x? So it tells us 3/4 is equal to x over 60. So a couple different ways we can solve this. One thing that always works when we have these ratios is to cross multiply. So I just have to do 3 times 60 and 4 times x and then divide by 4. So again, we cannot use a calculator here. So 180 divided by 4, what we can do is do some long division. 180 divided by 4. So 4 goes into 18 4 times. That would be 16. 4 goes into 25 times. Okay, so 45 would be our answer. So that's option D. Number 2, the table above shows some pairs of x values and y values. Which of the following equations could represent the relationship between x and y? So between x and y, I'm noticing all of my answers here are in y equals mx plus b form. So I need my slope, I need my y-intercept. So to find slope, we can just look here, change in y over change in x. Okay, so that's our m value, change in y over change in x. So what's happening on my y's is I'm going up by 2 every time. And then my x's are going up by 1. So change in y over change in x would just be 2 over 1. So y equals mx plus b, what we have so far is that m should be 2 over 1, or just 2. And now what would my y-intercept be? So because the table starts at 1 on the x's, I can just go backwards to 0. That's when I will find my y-intercept. So instead of adding 2 on my y's, I'll just subtract 2 and I'll get 3. So that will be my y-intercept, 2x plus 3. And that's option A. Okay, moving right along. Number 3, a discount airline sells a certain number of tickets X for a flight for $90 each. It sells the number of remaining tickets Y for $250 each. For a particular flight, the airline sold 120 tickets and collected a total of $27,600 from the sale of those tickets. Which system of equations represents this relationship between X and Y? Okay, so we have the cost of some tickets, okay, then the total that they made. And we also have 2 different sets of tickets and the total of 120. So if I do X plus Y, okay, the 2 different types of tickets, when I add those together, I'm going to get 120. Now, the other thing that I know is how much they cost. So 90 times the number of X tickets that are sold plus 250 times the number of Y has to equal the total that they made, 27,600. So let's see if any of those look similar. And it looks like A is good. Okay, and just to double check, you can just make sure you didn't make a silly mistake. Our X's and y's are attached to the right number, so I think we're good. 3 would be A. Okay, number 4, x squared minus 17x minus 60. Which of the following is equivalent to the expression above? So it looks like we need to factor here. I would try to use the product sum method. So what that is in order to get x squared, I know I need an x and an x. Now, what goes in here is the question. So product sum method, I'll write out like this. We know it needs to multiply to our last term and add to our middle term. So that's how we can help factor. So something that multiplies to negative 60 and adds to negative 17. So factors of 60 might not be super easy for you, or they might be. A key here, since we are looking at a multiple choice question, would be to look at our options, right? Can any of these help us? So it's either looking like it's 5 and 12 or 3 and 20. So if this is 5 and 12, that would give me 17. And to get negative 17, they would both have to be negative. But a negative times a negative is a positive, and what we have here is a negative. So 5 and 12 is not going to work. 3 and 20 should be good. So which one has to be negative to give me negative 17 when I add them together? That would have to be the larger one. So it'd be negative 20 and positive 3. So x plus 3, x minus 20 is equivalent. Okay, so just had to factor there. Okay, number 5, what is the equation of the line shown in the xy plane above? Okay, so I'm noticing that I have a line, it has a negative slope, and I see my y-intercept here is 3. So negative slope and y-intercept of 3. So A has a positive slope and negative 3 as its y-intercept. B has a negative slope and a positive 3. That looks good. C also has a positive slope and a negative 3. Okay, so it's either B or D. So now let's find our slope. So it looks like, remember, slope is change in y over change in x. If I go from this point here, and I want to go, let's say, to this point, I'm going to go down 3 and over 1. So what that looks like is negative 3 down 3 over 1, positive 1. So that is the same thing as negative 3. That is my slope. So negative 3x plus 3 will be my equation. Okay, number 6. Which of the following expressions is equivalent to the expression above? So I have negative 11x plus 31y minus 2 times negative x plus 5y. So I have to combine like terms, but the first thing I want to do is distribute if I can. So it looks like I can distribute this negative 2. So negative 11x plus 31y. Negative 2 times negative x would be plus 2x. Negative 2 times 5y would be negative 10y. And now I can just combine some terms. Negative 11x plus 2x, that would be negative 9x. 31y minus 10y would be plus 21y, so negative 9x plus 21y. That would be C. Number 7, the formula for determining the pressure P exerted on an object at a depth h below the surface of a liquid is P equals S plus D GH, where S is the atmospheric pressure, D is the density of the liquid, and G is the acceleration due to gravity. Which formula represents H in terms of P, S, D, and G? Okay, so there's a lot of information here that is not necessarily important to what the question is asking. So try not to get bogged down by all the scientific stuff in here. All it's asking us to do is solve for H. So if this is my equation, I want to try to get H by itself. So first thing I'm going to do is subtract S from both sides. So I can't combine anything, so you're just going to write P minus S. And then, in order to get H by itself, I need to divide by G and by D. So when I get H by itself, this will equal P minus S all over DG. P minus S all over DG. There it is. Okay, number 8. Rachel's costs for automobile maintenance and fuel are shown in the table below. So it looks like she pays 5 cents per mile for maintenance and 14 cents per mile for fuel. In addition to fuel and maintenance, Rachel pays $1,000 a year in insurance. The equation C shows the cost in dollars. Okay, so they give us the equation. Okay, the cost of owning and operating the car for a year as a function of X, the number of miles driven in a year. So X is our number of miles driven. What does the slope of the graph of this function represent? Okay, so this is in y equals mx plus b form already, so my slope is here. So it looks like the slope is adding our costs from this table together, which would make sense because each of those are per mile. So this will be the maintenance and the fuel cost. So let's see our options. The cost of insurance for a year. Nope, that's the $1,000. Cost of fuel and insurance. It's not fuel and insurance, it's fuel and maintenance. Cost of owning and operating per mile. Well, it doesn't include in the insurance. We have to make sure that's in there too, so that won't work. Cost of maintenance and fuel per mile. There it is. Okay, just like our table tells us. Okay, number 9. What is the solution to the equation above? Negative 4x plus 5 minus 6x plus 7 equals 0. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, again, is distribute. So whenever you have these parentheses, you want to try to get rid of them first. So the first set of parentheses doesn't really matter. We can just drop those, but we need to distribute this negative sign to this other set. So this would be negative 6x minus 7 equals 0. And now I can combine some like terms. Negative 10x minus 2 equals 0. Add 2 to both sides. Negative 10x equals 2. And then let's divide by negative 10. So I get x equals negative 2 tenths. Okay, all of my answers are written either as whole numbers or decimals. So I know it's not A or B. And then 2 tenths, that would have to be C. So negative 2 tenths. Okay, 10. A manufacturer makes 2 different sizes of spherical ball bearings for use in motors. If the radius of the larger ball bearing is twice the radius of the smaller one, then the volume of the larger ball bearing is how many times the volume of the smaller one? Okay, so we need volume of a sphere. So this is going to be from your reference table. So make sure you check out your formula sheet. And volume is 4/3 pi r to the 3rd power for a sphere. Okay, so if the larger is twice the radius of the smaller. Okay, so let's say the smaller one is just r. So this is what our smaller one would look like. So if I look for the same formula, but now let's say our radius is 2r because it's twice that, right? All I have to do is simplify. The only thing that's changing is this part. So let's simplify that. 2r to the 3rd would mean 2 to the 3rd times r to the 3rd. 2 to the 3rd is 2 times 2 times 2, which would be 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 more is 8. 8r cubed. So if the original radius, or the original formula just had radius to the 3rd, and this one now has 8 radius to the 3rd, this is going to be 8 times that. Okay, we are moving right along here. Oh, okay, here we go. So for questions 11 through 13, it looks like we have some free response questions. So number 11, if the equation y equals 2x squared minus 5x plus 3 is graphed in the xy plane, what is the value of its y-intercept? So y-intercept, it's important to know that that is when x equals 0. Okay, so we are just going to plug in x equals 0. Y equals 2 times 0 squared minus 5 times 0 plus 3. So these actually are going to cancel out, and all you'll be left with is 3. So the y-intercept is y equals 3. Okay, number 12. The solution to the system of equations below is xy. What is the value of x? So when we're solving the system of equations, we need to find the value of x. So let's try to get our y's to cancel out. This is positive y, this is negative 4y. So let's multiply this by 4. So distribute this to each term in that first equation. So this would be 12x plus 4y equals, well, what's 13 times 4? Let's see. 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 1 more is 5. So 52. And we're going to add 2x minus 4y equals 18 to that. So my y's cancel out, right? I'm trying to get my x's. So 12 plus 2 is 14x. 52 plus 18 would be 70. So we just have to divide by 14. Okay, and when we divide by 14, we are going to get x equals 5. X equals 5. All right, our last question for this no calculator part. A group of 12 friends went bowling. They each rented shoes for $3 a pair, and 4 friends bowled 2 games each, while 8 friends bowled 3 games each. Each game bowled cost each person the same amount. The total cost for the shoe rental and the games bowled was $212. What was the cost in dollars of each game bowled? All right, so we have 12 friends that go bowling, and they each rent shoes for $3. So I know 12 times 3, which is 36. They need to pay this for the shoes. Okay. Then 4 friends bowled 2 games each. 8 friends bowled 3 games each, and they each cost the same amount. So what we need to find is how much they cost. So I know what they're paying is $36 plus, let's see, so 4 friends bowled 2 games each, and you have to multiply that by, let's say, X for the cost of each game, plus 8 friends bowled 3 games each, so multiply that by X, and that has to equal the 212 total. So let's clean this up a little bit and try to solve. 36 plus 4 times 2 is 8. X plus 8 times 3 is 24. X equals 212. Looks like I can combine my x's here. 32x equals 212. Okay, so trying to get x by itself. Let's subtract 36 from both sides. So 32x would equal, let's see, 36, 176. So 32x equals 176. Now we have to divide by 32. So this is another one where we may need to do some long division. 176 divided by 32. All right, so 32 goes into 117. Okay, how many times does it go into 176? So 32 times, I don't know, let's say 4. Let's try 4. 2 times 4 would be 8. Okay, so that's 128. So that's not quite enough. Let's add 32 to that. 3, that'd be 6, 160. Okay, so I don't think, no, we can't do another group. So that was 4 plus 1 more is 5. So subtract 160 and you get 16. Have to add a decimal. I like to add it to the top at the same time so I don't forget. And pull down my 0. So we just found that it goes into 165 times. So that would be good to go. Okay, so we get 5.5. So let's go back and see what the question is asking. What is the cost in dollars of each game bowled? Disregard the dollar sign when grading your answer. So if it's 5.5 in dollars, that is $5.50. So this is what you would enter on your answer sheet. Okay, so that is our no calculator section part of the PSATs. We are going to move along to the part where we can use a calculator. So have a calculator handy. Feel free to pause this video and go grab one so you can follow along with me. And we have 40 minutes now to do 25 questions. So still kind of cruising along. What's that? Less than 2 minutes per question though. Okay, so we got to be focused and use our time wisely. So we still have our formula sheet. So we may need this, right? We used it a little bit in our last section. And we have 40 minutes. Now let's get started. Charissa ordered 3 cans of lemonade for each person at her party. She also ordered 1 pizza for every 4 people. If she ordered 6 pizzas, which of the following can be the number of cans of lemonade she ordered? Okay, so she ordered 3 cans of lemonade for each person, 1 pizza for every 4 people, and she ordered 6 pizzas. Okay, so 6 pizzas, okay, for every 4 people. So that's 6 times 4, because she did 1 for every 4. So it seems like there's about 24 people there. So if you take 24 and multiply it by 3 cans of lemonade each, you will get 72. That would be the number of cans of lemonade that she ordered, 72 cans. Number 2, a bakery sells trays of cookies. Each tray contains at least 50 cookies, but no more than 60. Which of the following could be the total number of cookies on 4 trays of cookies? So there's at least 50. So if we did 4 trays times 50, that would be 200. That's the least amount that there could be. Okay, there's at least that many, but there's no more than 60. So say there was 60 on each tray. 4 times 60 would be 240. It needs to be somewhere in between 200 and 240. It looks like the only one that fits that would be B, 205. Okay, number 3. A survey taken by 1,000 students at a school asked whether they played school sports. The table below summarizes all 1,000 responses from the students surveyed. All right, so this shows a table of males and females that played school sports or did not play a school sport. How many of the males surveyed responded that they do not play a school sport? So we know there's 1,000 total. So let's add up what we know and then subtract it from 1,000. So 312 plus 220 plus 216. Okay, so you can use a calculator for this, remember. So 312 plus 220 plus 216. That should give me 748. So if I take my 1,000 total and subtract 748, again, just plug this right on into your calculator and you should get 252 left. So that has to be the males that do not play school sport, 252. Okay, number 4. A waiter receives tips from each customer. On average, the tip is 15% of the customer's bill. At this rate, which of the following is closest to the tip the waiter can expect when a customer has a bill of $78.20? So if the bill is $78.20 and we're getting 15% of that, we can just multiply this by 0.15. So you have to turn your percent into a decimal. And again, this is something that we can just plug right into our calculator, and you should get about $11.73. So which of our options is closest to that? It looks like $12 is a good estimate. Okay, number 5. The table below shows the high and low temperatures in Houston, Texas during a 5-day period. What was the mean low temperature in degrees Fahrenheit during the 5-day period? So mean, that is our average. So we need to take our low temperatures. Oops, I almost made a silly mistake there. Look for low. So our low temperatures, 49 plus 37 plus 41 plus 54 plus 63. So add those 5 up and divide by, it's 5 days, so divide by 5. So you can plug in the top into your calculator. So let's plug in 49 plus 37 plus 41 plus 54 plus 37 plus 40 plus 54 plus 63. There we go. 244 divided by 5. Okay, and you should get 48.8. 48.8. There we go. There's our mean low temperature. All right, number 6. A random sample of 50 people from a town with a population of 14,878 were asked to name their favorite flavor ice cream. Okay, so 7 people in the sample named chocolate as their favorite. How many people in town would be expected to name chocolate? So 7 out of the 50 people surveyed said chocolate was their favorite. So the population of the town is 14,878. So how many of those people would say chocolate? We can set up a proportion. Okay, you can set up a proportion here. So to solve proportions, I like to just cross multiply. So 7 times 14,878. Let's see. Okay. 104,146 equals 50x. So go ahead and divide by 50. And you will find it's about 2,823 approximately. Okay, so which of our options is closer to that? We said about how many. So this is estimation, and B is our answer. Okay, because we can use a calculator, I didn't really round or estimate beforehand, but I totally could have to make these numbers easier. But 2,100 or 2,100 is our solution. All right, number 7. A study was done to determine a new car's stopping distance when it was traveling at different speeds. The study was done on a dry road with good surface conditions. The results are shown below, along with the graph of a quadratic function that models the data. Okay, so let's see. We have stopping distance here vertically and speed in miles per hour. According to the model, which of the following is the best estimate for the stopping distance in feet if the vehicle was traveling 55 miles per hour? Okay, so let's find where 55 would be. So 50 is about in the middle, so 55 would be here. So we'll just kind of follow this up and see where this hits our graph. So it looks like it hits a little bit above 200. That would be my best estimate. Definitely less than 250, but somewhere around 200. So it looks like C, 210, would be our best option. Okay, number 8. The equations below show the total amount of water in gallons Y that has flowed through 2 different types of shower heads after X minutes of use. So type A and type B, based on these equations, which of the following statements is a correct comparison? So if I'm looking at type A and type B, the only thing that's different is our slope, 1.25 and 2.5. So it looks like B is 2 times as fast, two times as much water would be flowing through it. So let's see our options, see if any of those sound similar to that. For each minute of use, the amount of water that flowed through type B is twice the amount that flowed through type A. Well, it sounds kind of like what I just said, so let's leave that one. Each minute of use, the amount of water that flowed through type A is twice the amount. No, definitely B has more, type B has more, so it's not option B. The amount of water that flowed through type A per minute increased at a faster rate. It doesn't say that it's increasing. Looks like these are linear functions, so we have the same slope each time. And so that gets rid of C and D. So yeah, A was it. Number 9, a certain number of cubic yards of concrete will be poured to form a driveway. The concrete will fill a space that is a right rectangular prism that is 18 feet wide, 42 feet long, and 6 inches thick. What are the dimensions of this space in yards? Okay, so width by length by thickness. Okay, so width, length, thickness. So we have to convert these to yards. So it's telling us there's 1 foot has 12 inches and 1 yard has 3 feet. So to go from feet to yards, 18 feet, divide this by 3, and you will get 6 yards. Okay, 6 yards. 42 feet. Again, divide by 3. 42 divided by 3, I think should be 14. Yep, you can plug it in your calculator to double check. And then 6 inches. So 6 inches, let's turn that into feet first. So 6 divided by 12 would just be 1/2. So 1/2, 0.5 feet. Or I also could write this as 1/2. Doesn't matter. Okay, so this is equal to how many yards? So I still have to divide by 3. So 1/2 divided by 3. Let's just either, if we can plug it in our calculator, fine. Go ahead and check that. Or we could do some fraction division. Keep, change, flip. So keep the first one, change to multiplication, and flip. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So 1/6 of a yard. So it looks like 6 by 14 by 1/6. Do we see that here? Yes, perfect. Okay, A it is. Okay, number 10. The charges for a parking garage are shown below. Which graph shows the relationship between the parking time in minutes and the charge in dollars? Okay, so parking time in minutes. So it looks like up to 30 minutes, you go to $1, 30 to $62, 60 to $93. Pretty consistent up to 4. But then over 120, you're going to have a charge of $9. So it looks like we're going to have a little jump there. So let's look at our graphs. So A, this piecewise function, the step function goes pretty consistently. It never actually shows the charge of $9 at all. So definitely is not A. B, I see the jump, so let's compare. So this is saying $9 between 120 and, this just goes to here. Be like 120, 30, 40. Yeah, that doesn't really work, does it? Because it's supposed to be 120 up to 180. Yeah, that's definitely not 180. So it can't be that one. Okay, we see another jump here, 120 to 180. 180 to 240. That's what we're looking for. Okay. C it is. And just to double check D, yeah, D does not go up to our $9 and $14 charges. So it would have to be option C. So using process of elimination here is saving us some time from really having to like go through and figure out exactly what this would look like. We can just eliminate the options that don't make sense. Okay, 11. A sterling silver platter is made up of a mixture of silver and copper. The ratio of silver to copper is 37 to 3 by mass. If the platter has a mass of 600 grams, what is the mass in grams of the copper? All right, so we have a ratio of silver to copper, 37 to 3, and the platter has a total mass of 600 grams. So when we add the silver plus the copper, we're going to get 600. So what we know about them is their ratio. So when you have a ratio given and you need to know like a total, essentially what you do is you break down the ratio. So silver is 37, and then we're going to multiply it by some number, plus the copper is 3, and multiply that by the same number, the same multiple, whatever we multiply by, that'll give us an equivalent ratio, and that has to equal 600. So I can combine some like terms and get 40x equals 600, and when I divide by 40, I'm going to get x equals 15, I believe. Yep, so you can just plug that right in your calculator. So x equals 15. So from here, if x equals 15, I need to know the copper. The copper, remember, is 3x. So 3 times 15 would give me 45. So that would be the total mass of just the copper, 45. Questions 12 through 14 refer to the following information. Okay, Rocco is saving money to buy his first car. He works 15 hours each week and saves $10 for each hour he works. 15 hours each week and saves $10 for each hour. Okay. Rocco has already saved $3,500 and plans to save at least $5,300. He knows there will be an 8.5% sales tax on the purchase of the car and a title transfer fee of $15. Okay, he will use the formula below to determine his gas mileage, Y, in miles per gallon from the number of miles M. The car can be determined using G, gallons of gas. Okay, so we've got a formula and we've got some other information. Let's see what we need for our first question. Rocco will need to pay a total of $5,246.87 for the car, including the sales tax and transfer fee. To the nearest dollar, what is the purchase price of the car? Okay, so let's say our purchase price is P. So in order to buy this car, he's going to pay for the car, plus he's got to pay for the tax, which is 8.5%, which is 0.085. Turn that into a decimal, right? And then multiply that by the purchase price. Plus his transfer fee is $15. So this all together has to equal our $5,246.87 total price. So let's clean this up a little bit. Let's combine some like terms and subtract the 15 from both sides. Okay, so when we subtract the 15 from both sides, we get $5,231.87 has to equal. And now P plus 0.085P would be 1.085P. Okay, so from here, to get that purchase price, I'm just going to divide by 1.085 on both sides. And again, this is a great opportunity to just plug this right in your calculator, and you should get about 4,822. So sorry I wrote on this a little bit, but it looks like option B is it. Okay, 13. Which formula can Rocco use to determine the number of miles he can expect to drive using a certain number of gallons of gas? So looking at my options, I'm thinking that this formula they originally gave us will be helpful. And we're trying to find the number of miles he can expect to drive, so we need to solve this for M. So to get M by itself, I have to get rid of G. So since we're dividing, let's do the opposite operation to get it to cancel out. So M is going to equal G times Y. Not so bad. Okay, just using the formula that they gave us and solving for M. Okay, and how about 14? Which inequality can Rocco use to model the number of weeks remaining X that he will need to work before he has saved at least 5,300? So we know he saved, what, $3,500 already. And he's working towards saving $10 for every hour he works. And it said he works 15 hours a week. So 15 times, let's call our week's X. And that has to be greater than or equal to what he needs, which is the 5,300. So looks like all we can simplify here is 10 times 15, which would just be 150. So 3,500 plus 150x has to be greater than or equal to 5,300. So A it is. All right, we are moving right along here. We are on to question number 15 of our calculator section. The table below shows the lengths in centimeters of a sample of 5 leaves from a tree. A 6th leaf is added to the sample and its length is measured. Its measure increases the mean value but decreases the median. What is a possible measurement for the length of the 6th leaf? Increases the mean and decreases the median. So I know it has to be higher than whatever my original mean is, but lower than the median. So let's find the mean. Add all of these up and divide by 5. Okay, so add all these up and divide by 5. So when I add all of these up and divide by 5, my mean is 13.1. So if it increases the mean, it has to be higher than 13.1, so it can't be A. Now it needs to decrease the median. It needs to be lower than whatever my original median is. So let's go and find my median. So I could list these all in order from least to greatest. I'm just going to cross off the smallest and then the highest and then go to the next one. And 13.4 is my current median. So 13.4. So it has to be less than 13.4, and the only one that fits that would have to be a B. Okay, so find your current mean, your current median, and then use that to find your answer. 16, a theater is showing one movie today. A media research company randomly selected people coming out of the theater to rate on a 5-star scale the movie they just saw. The results of the survey are shown in the table below. All right, so there's our rating and frequency. A total of 325 people saw the movie in that theater. Based on the survey results, how many of the people who saw the movie would have rated it 3 or more stars? So 3 or more. All right, so let's see. How many people rated it 3 or more? So 17 plus 19 plus 14. So that will give us, if we add that together in a calculator, 50 out of how many total? 8 plus 12 is 20. So there's 70 total. That has to be equal to the amount of people that would give it 3 or more stars, so let's call that X, over the 325 people that saw it in total. Okay, so from here, we can do a little cross multiplication. So let's cross multiply here and here. So 50 times 325 is 16,250. That will equal 70 times X. Now just divide by 70, and you get about 232. So about how many would have saw the movie and rated it with 3 or more stars? That would be about 230. That's our closest options with the answers that were given. So C. Okay, lots of proportion and ratio stuff on the PSAT, so this is super important. Got a few more questions here. For questions 17 and 18, refer to the following information. Experts say vitamin C is a nutrient that provides many health benefits. The amount of vitamin C in milligrams found in 100 grams of each of the several fruits is shown in the table. So we're given the amount of vitamin C in milligrams in 100 grams of fruit. So let's see what we can do with that. Which quantity of fruit contains an amount of vitamin C closest to the combined amount of vitamin C in 50 grams of the cherries and 150 grams of kiwi? All right, so 50 grams of cherries, we would take how many are in 100 grams, and 50 would be half of that. So we can just divide that by 2, okay? Let's take that and divide it by 2. 1678 divided by 2. Okay, 839. And then the kiwi fruit has 105, but that tells us in 150 grams of that. So 150, that would be 1.5 times the 100 grams that is in the chart. So let's take 105 times 1.5. It's about 157.5. So in the combined fruits, let's just round, I guess we can leave it, 996.5. So we want to know which of our options gets us closest to 996.5. So 2,000 grams of black currants. So black currants have 181 and 2,000 grams. We have to multiply this by 20. So that's going to be well over 2,000. Yeah, so that is way too high. So A does not work. 800 grams of guava. So let's this times 8. That would be like 1,600. I mean, that's still pretty far off. I don't think that's going to be it. 1,800 grams of pineapple. So let's multiply this by 18. All right, not going to be so good at estimating that. Let's just plug it in. 56 times 18. Okay, that's 1,008. That's pretty close. Let's just check the last one. Strawberries. 59, multiply this by 6. I think that's going to be way too low. 59 times 6. Yeah, 354. Okay, so C it is. That one is the closest. A fruit salad was prepared containing 100 grams of cherries, 100 grams of kiwi, 300 grams of pineapple, 200 grams of strawberry. What is the total gram of vitamin C in grams that is contained in the listed fruits? So we're given this in milligrams, so we're going to find our total and then turn it into grams. So 100 grams of cherries plus 100 grams of kiwi plus 300 grams of pineapple. So 3 times 56. 200 grams of strawberries, 2 times 59. Okay, so let's find our total and then turn it into grams. So I'm going to get, let's see, multiply it out and then add it. I get 2,069. So this is milligrams. To turn this into grams, we have to take our decimal and swoop it to the left 3 times because there are 1,000 milligrams in a gram. So this is also the same as just dividing by 1,000. So 2.069 grams is our answer. There it is. Okay, what's left here? 19. A quality control specialist for an electronics manufacturer estimates that 0.25% of the televisions produced each day by her company are defective. If the manufacturer produces an average of 450 televisions each day, which of the following is the best estimate of the number of defective televisions produced in 30 working days? All right, so how many total televisions do they produce? 450 each day times the 30 days. Okay, so that would be the total number that they produce. They're saying that this is the amount that are defective. So turn this into a decimal. Don't be tricked just because they're giving you a percent that is a decimal. You still have to swoop it to the left twice. So multiply this by 0.0025. So we have to multiply all of this out, and that should give us the number of defective televisions. Okay, number of defective televisions. So 19, it looks like we got to multiply these, and we're going to get about 34. About 34. 20. Line L is shown on the xy plane above. If the corresponding equation for line L is y equals ax plus b, where a and b are constants, which set of inequalities is true about a and b? So this is a line. We need to find our slope and our y-intercept. So looking at my slope, this is positive. Okay, this is definitely positive, but my y-intercept is negative, but it looks like it's greater than -10, right? It's a little bit higher than that. So let's see our options. So is A in between 0 and 1? That's possible. That would still tell me it's positive. And is B less than 1? Okay, that kind of works so far. Let's see what else we got. Is A in between -1 and 0? That would tell me my slope is negative. So nope, that doesn't work. Is A less than 0? Nope, that would also say my slope is negative. D says A is greater than 0, which makes sense, but B is greater than 10. No, B is definitely less than that because B is negative, so A is the only one that works. Okay, so process of elimination again, saving ourselves some time, leaves us only with option A. 21. Mr. LePage spent $25,000 to buy a new truck for his construction business. He estimated the value of the truck after each of the next 5 years as shown in the table below. Okay, so this is the value of his truck after each year of ownership. The line passing through the point defined by the values in the table is graphed on the XY plane. Which of the following is the best interpretation of the y-intercept of the problem? So the y-intercept. So the y-intercept, remember, is when x equals 0. So when x equals 0, that's our year. So that would be year 0. So that would be the year that he bought the truck, right? So that should be the value of it when he bought the truck. So let's look at our options. The number of years for which the value of the truck will decrease? No. Amount, the value of the truck is decreasing each year? No. Value of the truck after the 6th year? Nope. Value of the truck when it was new? Yes, that one works. Cool. When he bought it, it was new. So that was 21. A few more here. Let's see. 22 through 25 are going to be free response questions. So no multiple choice to help us, but again, we can use our calculator. 22, the solution to the system of equations below is xy. What is the value of x? So we did one very similar to this in our first section without a calculator. Let's say we want to solve for x again, so we need to get y to cancel out. So because there are coefficients in front of the y's, I want to get those to be the same. So I'm going to just multiply the top by 7 and the bottom by 6. And let's watch what happens. Okay, so multiply through. So we're going to get 35x minus 42y. And then make sure, right, we're distributing this to everything. 2.7 times 7 will be 18.9. Now distribute the 6 to everything in the bottom. 60x plus 42y equals 1.6 times 6 will be 9.6. So now I can add these equations together and my y's will cancel out. So I will get 95x equals 28.5. And when I just divide by 95, I will find that x equals 0.3. 0.3. Okay, so trying to get the y's to be the same, one strategy is just to multiply by the coefficient in front of it in the other equation, and that way you're going to find a multiple that will cancel out. Okay, 23. A dinner was held to raise money for a children's museum. A ticket for one person cost $200, and a ticket for a couple, which would be 2 people, cost $350. Total of 130 people attended the dinner, and the ticket sales was $24,000. What is the total number of tickets that were sold? So the tickets for one person, let's call that X, and the tickets for 2 people would be Y. So let's see. X plus Y would be the total of tickets sold, but what it tells us is the total of people. So X, that's one person for each ticket. Y, oh, there's 2 people for each ticket. So let's multiply that by 2, and that will give me the total number of people. And then we also know the total that they raised. So 200 times X plus 350 times Y will give me the total here. Okay, so what is the total number of tickets that were sold? So we need to solve this system and find X and Y to add those back together. So let's see. Let's multiply this by negative 200, and that'll help us get these to cancel out. So negative 200 X minus 400 Y would equal negative 26,000. And now I can combine like terms, and this will cancel out. Negative 50y equals negative 2,000. When I divide by negative 50, I will get y equals 40. So y, which is the couple's tickets, there were 40 of those sold. So now x plus 2y, remember we said that equals 130. So x plus 2 times 40, because we now know there are 40 that were sold, will equal the 130 people that were there. X plus 80 equals 130, and subtract 80 from both sides. So x equals 50. So now I'm going to combine 40 and 50, the 2 different tickets that were sold, and you should get 90 total tickets. Questions 24 and 25 refer to the following information. The United States Senate first convened in the year 1789. From 1789 through 2013, a total of 44 women served as U.S. senators. The partially completed table below shows the number of women senators by political party and geographical region. Okay, so it looks like we have an incomplete table here where we have geographical region and political parties and then some totals. So I'm just going to go see if I can fill anything else out. So Midwest, there's not enough information. All we know is 7 Republicans. Northeast, there's 4 Democratic, but 8 total. So there has to also be 4 Republicans. South, all we know is the 3 Republicans. Let's see, West, 6 Democrats and 7 total. So there has to be 1 here. And then it looks like I could add up my total in my Republican Party. 7 plus 4 plus 3 plus 1. So that will be 15. Oh, and now that I know that, I know the total Democrats because I could just do 44 minus 15. That should give me 29. Okay, so this is all the information I think I can find with what we are given. So let's see what the questions ask. What is the total number of women from the Democratic Party who served as U.S. senators from 1789 through 2013? Okay, so total, where does that intersect with the Democratic Party? Right there. Okay, so 29. We already figured that out. So this would be 29. And question 25, from 1789 through 2013, of the women from only the Democratic Party who served as U.S. senators, 34.5% have been from the South region. What is the total number of Democratic and Republican women who represent the Midwest? Okay, so the information they're telling us here is 34.5% of the women from the Democratic Party, which we just found to be 29. Okay, so we have to turn this into a decimal, 0.345, multiplied by 29. Okay, so go ahead and plug this right into your calculator. Okay, so when you plug this into your calculator, you should find that you get 10. So 10 women are from the South region. So let's plug that in here. Okay, so it looks like I can find everything else now. So 10 plus 3 is 13. Let's see, Midwest, so 29. We have to subtract all of these. So this would be, I say 10, it's 20, so this would be 9. 9 plus 7 would be 16. Okay, so the question asks, what is the total number of Democratic and Republican women U.S. senators represented the Midwest? So the total for the Midwest is right here. So that would be your answer of 16. Phew. All right. We did it. And I think we did it with some time to spare. So again, this is really great practice if you are preparing for the PSATs. And make sure you check out the description of this video for some links with some more support from Smart Edition Academy to help you prepare. I hope you found this video helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.